Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing today? How are my warriors? I have missed you guys so, so very much. Let me first start out by apologizing for not, doing a video for such a long period of time. You know, um, I just had so many things going on last year, and it kind of took me away from, being able to record, like I wanted to. I honestly had to take a sabbatical and take a little step back because I just had to you know, just do, life. And I'm sure that that happens to everybody, just a combination of things going on. But, I said that, I was one of my goals was to make sure that this year that I come back, and kind of get restarted and just talk to you all and get, caught up and see how you all have been doing. See how my warriors have been hanging in there. And let me also say that I appreciate all of the love that I've been receiving from, everyone checking on me to see how I've been doing and still responding to some of the videos. And, just it's good to know that the videos are still helping so many people. I mean, I've had new women to reach out to me and to say that they're so glad that they came across my videos. And you really just don't know how, I guess, hopeful you can be, or just how helpful these videos have been to so many people. Of course, my goal is to spread awareness and to talk to you all and just come together so that we can let the world know, that abdominal pregnancy, cryptic pregnancy, whatever you want to call it, is a very, very real thing. And so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I just again wanted to apologize for the delay, and I'm going to try my best to start putting out more videos because there's so many questions that people have that I've not been able to, you know, personally get to, or I may have answered them already in a previous video. But, I don't mind going back and, talking about, some of the things that I may have talked about before because I've had new subscribers, so thank you for all of my new subscribers. Thank you for the ones that have already subscribed and have been with me throughout this whole journey. I appreciate you, and I'm so glad that we can get caught up, and I hope that everyone has been doing okay. This crazy pandemic has changed the course of all of our lives, I'm sure. But I just thank God that we're, still able to push and move forward. So, you all are my warriors, and we warriors fight to the end. Warriors don't quit. Warriors don't give up. Warriors have a mentality, an undefeated mentality. So, to all of my warriors, I'm grateful for you, and I thank God that you all are still here. Please excuse my speech and my slur. Unfortunately, I have a really, really bad toothache, and this side of my face is all swollen. It's completely swollen, and it hurts so bad. Whew. So I'm just kind of trying to push through that a little bit, but it's okay. It's okay. I did not want to allow that to stop me from, recording this video because we have a lot of catching up to do. We have a lot of things to talk about. I'm sure you all have been wondering, like, where have you been? We have not seen you. We have not heard from you. What is going on? Because I've had people ask, are you okay? Did you have the babies yet? You know, what's going on? God bless you. And, just so many kind words. So that's what I want to do now. Just kind of let you all know what's been going on with me. And then, later on we'll get into some other things. And I have questions for you guys because I definitely want to know what's been happening with you all. And, how your lives have changed and, just how you've been doing. And yeah, um so first of all, like I said, guys, it's I'm sure all of us have had a lot of things happening in our personal lives, and for me, the reason why I took a actually, guys, is I took a year off. I didn't think it was that long, but it was. And I had always intended to make videos, and I had so much on my heart and mind that I wanted to say. Um, but every time I would get around to it or think about doing a video, either I just didn't have the energy to do it, or my mind frame shifted and I didn't put one out, or I just decided I'll do it later and just never got around to it, or and just like I said, just dealing with a lot of personal things as well. Um, but to specifically talk about what's been going on with me and my health is that I was having a lot of issues with fluid building up in my body, and um, it gotten so bad to where it was restricting my breathing, and I actually had to go on oxygen. Um, it was really, really debilitating. I was always in and out of the hospital. There were so many times I was in the hospital, and I remember, I think last year when I did some videos, I was actually doing videos from the hospital. So I've been in the hospital, back and forth in the hospital for the last couple of years. But last year was, I think, the most hospital visits that I've ever had. And so with the fluid and the pregnancy and my blood pressure and all of these things, just my health had really declined. And I'm still not 100%, but I am better, and I just thank God that I am better. And then unfortunately, November 1st, 2021, my mom went home to be with the Lord. My mom passed. And so that was really tough, for my family, and, just getting through that, and, planning my mom's funeral, who was my best friend. And so, I've had so many things going on, and I want to share this with you all because we're a family, and we look after each other, and we already know how difficult life has been, just having the type of pregnancy that we have. That's tough enough. And so just anything on top of that is a lot. And that's not to minimize anybody else's issues or situation, but just speaking specifically to you know the Warriors, and just all of the anyone else who may be watching, or listen, or who can relate. So that's just an overview, or the what is it? Long story short, as to why I haven't been doing videos, and my communication diminished the way that it did, is because I had to, just take a step back and just deal with a lot of personal things going on in my life. And I don't even know how often, honestly, I'll be recording videos. My goal is to, just be consistent as I can, or just do as many as I can, but I'm not going to give them a number or an amount, or anything like that, because I don't want to commit to something and not do it. So hopefully, if my health and my body and my mind permits, then I'll definitely be putting out videos. If the Lord put something on my heart that I want to share, then I'll definitely do that. And I also wanted to say I know that I had some things that I had planned to do before my sabbatical, as far as like the the what do you call it, the Zoom, and having open topic discussions about CP, and putting together a group of people to come together to have discussions and all of that. All of that is still very, very, very present in what in my mind, as far as my goals are concerned. Um, my priorities have just shifted a little bit, but all of that is something that I'm still going to do. But I don't want to put too much pressure on myself right now, um, just because, like I said, my priorities have shifted, you know, somewhat. So, but so let's see what's next. So this is, a lot of people have been asking questions about, like I said, my health and what's been going on. And like I said, the most difficult thing that I've been going through is dealing with fluid buildup in my body. And I'm better now. I found out some of the reasons why it was happening, um, and what contributed to it. And I'm getting help with that now. Um, and I'm hoping that the fluid buildup will continue to subside. I'm on a um, fluid pill, of course, to help keep the fluid off and keep the swelling down and things like that. And then, of course, people have asked, "Have you had the babies yet?" If I have had my babies, believe me, you all would have known that by now, that my babies are here. They are doing well. That they are still growing. They're still kicking. They're still moving. They give me the blues. They are still very heavy, but they are still they're still nesting. Um, so I'm hoping that my body will one day just go into labor. I don't know how things are going to play out, um, but I just trust the Lord, and I'm just going to be still and just continue to have faith and believe that whatever God's will and plan is for me to deliver my babies, it'll happen. I've really learned now, just because of what I've been through, to not um, stress myself out so much. Even though I'm angry about a lot of things as far as the medical field is concerned, I can't allow that to um, disturb my peace. I still have to maintain, you know, a level head, and, allow the Lord to take me up in certain areas, meaning some things are just really overwhelming, and I don't need that kind of pressure. So I'm learning to, just take a step back, and just reevaluate things. So I have not had the babies yet. I don't know exactly how many I'm having. Like I said, in the beginning, I saw on my ultrasound, three or more. But again, I still don't know for sure. I honestly can tell you I know it's more than one, but exactly how many I do not know. Um, let's see what else. Again, I'm still not getting a positive test. When every time I go to the hospital, I do make mention of my pregnancy. And of course, they look at me like I have three eyes. And the first thing they, do is ask me if I want to see a psychiatrist. You all know what it's like. Those who have been through this process for a minute, I'm sure you know what it's like when you go to the doctor or hospital and you talk about your pregnancy. The thing, how we're treated and the things that they say. You know, um, so yeah, I still get that, but it doesn't stop me from advocating for myself, for telling my truth, and from protecting my babies when it comes to certain medications and things that they want to try to put you on. So that leads me. That's kind of like a segue into the next thing that I did want to share with you guys. Is I want to talk to you guys a little bit about some of my hospital experiences. I know a lot of moms have stopped going to see doctors just because of the mental um, pain and the unfair treatment that we tend to get when we talk about our pregnancies. Um, there's so much in my brain right now that I want to say, but I'll try to take my time because I know I can kind of like not necessarily be all over the place, but go from one subject to another because it's so much that I've experienced and so much that I want to talk about. So maybe as I do my videos, I can kind of break things up in parts or segments so that you can kind of get the my full experience. And let me just give you all like a quick disclaimer. This video, my YouTube channel is not necessarily for children, or it isn't for children, because some things are graphic, some things, and when I say graphic, meaning I may use words, or when I share my experience, I may be very candid about certain things that I say and that are not fitting for children. So if you are a parent and you are watching this video and you have young kids, you may want to go somewhere else or send your children out of the room. It's not that I'm doing anything inappropriate, but it is a sensitive topic in my opinion. And then, if you don't believe that pregnancy can exist in this way, and you feel like that what I am saying is misleading or it's not true, and you don't, you disagree with it, again, my suggestion is to not watch this video because I'm not going to allow anyone to muzzle me or stop me from telling my truth and sharing my experience. If you disagree, or if for whatever reason you feel that it is impossible to have um, an indefinite pregnancy, or you've watched some of my videos and you feel like just whatever the way that you feel, and it doesn't, you don't agree with it, then don't watch because um it's again, it's not going to stop me from telling my truth. So my suggestion would be to find another person's page to watch. So now that I've said that, I can continue with what I would like to share. Now, the things that I'm going to talk about again are my experiences. And the reason why I'm sharing my experiences is because I want to make people aware of certain things to pay attention to, certain things that you can do to protect yourself, and just, again, share my journey. Um, um, yeah, so, some of my newer subscribers, if you don't know, I'm a believer of Jesus Christ, and the reason why I'm sharing this is because um, I'm going to be talking about some of my experiences and how God leads me to do certain things, and how He's changed my mind frame and with certain situations that may arise or may have happened with me, how the Lord has guided me and shown me a more excellent way. So I'm going to be sharing my experiences, and I just kind of want to put that out there. Um, and then the other thing is, I encourage you to leave your comments, or if you have questions or anything like that, please feel free to leave a comment. Um, if you plan on being rude or impolite or passive aggressive, I don't tolerate it. I don't deal with it. I've had It's not hard for me to block people because I've done it before. This is not a channel where I'm going to allow negativity or anything like that. I don't mind constructive criticism, or if you have a genuine question, or if you have a suggestion or advice or information. I don't have a problem with that. But when people begin to try to you know say insulting things and become a troll or a bully, that doesn't happen on my channel. So I'm just letting you all know that. And for anybody that knows me, they can attest to that I don't tolerate that. So, um, like I had said before, I've been in the hospital quite a bit for the year 2021, and I know with COVID and you know all of the news um, and different strands of COVID that's been out now. It's been very hectic in the medical field, and so many people have lost loved ones, and everything is just haywire. It really, really is. And so, a lot of things about healthcare has changed. In my opinion, it wasn't the best to begin with, but it's really, really um, I don't even know what word to use, but I'm not bashing doctors and nurses and caregivers in any way at all, because it's a very difficult field to be in, especially with the demand of health, you know, care, and the amount of people that are sick, and the shortage of nurses and doctors. And so I'm not coming to, be negative in that way, because I believe that there are good doctors and nurses and caregivers out there that really love people, that really love their job and love what they do. So I don't want to make it seem like that you know um, nobody is doing their job or anything like that, because that's certainly not the case. Um, this video is gonna be getting pretty long, so I'm just gonna just give you a short version of just what I've been dealing with since I have not been on, to do videos. Is a lot of women that have said to me, well, when I go to the doctor, or if I have to go to the hospital, I don't mention my pregnancy. I don't say anything about it because I know they're not going to do anything, and they're not going to believe me, and they're going to call me crazy and this, that, and the third. And that has been my experience too. That has been my experience as well. And the reason why I choose to always say, and this is typically what I do, they'll ask me, what are you here for? What brings you to the hospital? And I'll say, well, I have shortness of breath, I'm having a hard time breathing, and I'm also having some abdominal pain and discomfort. And then I'll say, I have what is called an abdominal pregnancy, and I've had this pregnancy for quite some time, but my tests come back negative, and it doesn't show in my blood work. And um, I've had ultrasounds done in the past, but I'm always told that they can't see anything. I said, however, I do feel kicks, movement, and have belly growth and things like that. So I end up usually getting into a pretty lengthy discussion when it comes to the pregnancy portion. But let me tell you why I take that ride. One, I wanted to be documented in my medical records that I did tell you I was pregnant. Two, that means that you have to take some form of responsibility to look into it, whether it's an ultrasound, whatever the case may be. And now, mind you, when they do an ultrasound, they're not going to search for your babies. If your baby is not directly in your uterus where they can see it, then they're going to say they don't see anything. Even though they do, and it's been my personal experience because a lot of times I see the screen when my ultrasound is being done and I see it. But when the doctors put in the order for ultrasound to be done, they're going to only put the order in for them to do certain things or to look certain places. And so, for example, I had an ultrasound done, but they only looked in one area of my stomach instead of just kind of like doing my pelvic area, going, on each side of my stomach or anything like that. They only look, like in my abdomen area. And even though I said I was having abdominal pain, I said I also have, pain in my back, and just I was very descriptive about where I'm feeling a movement and kicks and all of that. So that's why it's always, oh, we don't see anything, we don't see anything. Because they're not going to do an in-depth search. And I believe that because of the way our babies are implanted, we an ultrasound is just not going to pick it up. Even though it has and it can, it depends on the person and how their babies are positioned as to whether or not you can see anything. So anyway, I always mention my pregnancy for those reasons and because I also have hypertension. I have my blood pressure is always out of control. And so what they tend to do is they want to prescribe blood pressure pills, obviously, to help for my blood pressure to go down. But sometimes the medication that they prescribe is harmful to women that are pregnant or women that are with child. And it will and so when they introduce some type of blood pressure pill that I don't know about, I'll look it up first to see if it's harmful to women that are pregnant, or I'll ask the doctor, is this particular blood pressure pill harmful to babies or women that are pregnant? And then of course they're like, oh well, I'm not sure. And I'm like, well, we need to look that up before I agree to take this medication. Because what doctors do is they'll prescribe you medicine, even if you tell them you're pregnant, and they do a blood test and a urine test, they're in the clear. Because at this point, they've done their job. They did a blood test, urine test, ultrasound. They don't see a baby. So they have the green light to prescribe whatever they feel they need to prescribe to get my blood pressure down. And so, in advocating for myself, even though they say they don't see anything, I know what's going on in my body. And I know my situation. So I still have to say, well, I'm not going to take this because I researched it and it says that if you are in your second and third trimester, it can be harmful to the baby and not to take it. Now it's difficult because they say that even though it could be harmful, if your life is in danger and it's going to save your life, then take the risk and taking the medicine. That's what they typically say. And I get it. But it's interesting how they find a way around that medicine to get your blood pressure down. When I tell them I'm not taking it and I want to try, well, they're going to have to figure something else out. It's amazing how they figure something else out. Um, a lot of people don't want to go through the red tape. A lot of people, probably just want to start feeling better. But for me, I feel like I have an obligation to not just protect myself, but to protect my babies. And And another problem is that there are different doctors that come in on different shifts. So one doctor can prescribe one thing, and then another doctor will come on another shift and prescribe something else. So what happens is the nurses basically just give you what the doctors put in the order for them to give you. And so they will quickly say, here's your medicine, this is the this and this. So for me, I'm like, okay, I need you to tell me what pills it is again, because you were speaking kind of fast and I didn't hear you. And they'll say, okay, well, this is your vitamin C, and this is your um, blood pressure pill, and this is something else. And it's usually something that I've not heard of that they told me that they were going to give me. And then I'm like, well, what is this for? I didn't know that this was being prescribed. What is it? Oh, well, this is another blood pressure pill. And I'm like, okay, well, let me look. Well, do you know if this blood pressure pill can be taken by women? I go to that same thing again because every doctor will sometimes give you something different. And so that's something that I'm always cautious about, because you can't refuse to take medicine. You don't have to take what they say they want to give you. You can say, I don't want to take it. You're not obligated to do that. Another situation I had was I was borderline diabetic, and the numbers weren't, astronomically high or anything like that, but it was close. And so, long story short, I think I had eaten something that had sugar in it, and it brought my numbers up. Barely over, I think it was like 152. And I think you have to be like 150 and under or something. But I knew it was something that I had just eaten. So the nurse was like, well, I'm going to get ready to give you your medicine. I'm going to give you this, and then your insulin. I'm like, insulin? I'm not diabetic. What are you giving me insulin for? Well, the doctor ordered you to have insulin, and when we took your sugar, it was like, well, and I said, well, that's probably based on something I had just eaten. And I said, well, why would the doctor give me insulin? I said, first of all, my sugar level would, can come down on its own. Even if I got a pill to take, I could take a pill. Why would insulin be something that the doctor would give me when my number is just barely over 150, and it only happened one time? Why would she's like, well, I don't know, I'm just telling you what the doctor told me. And I'm like, that's crazy, because I've never taken insulin a day in my life. And when you start taking insulin and all of that stuff, your body gets used to that. And I don't know if it's something you would have to continue to do or continue to take. And I know sometimes when women get pregnant, they do take insulin just during the time that they're pregnant, and it's not permanent. But for me, I just felt like that was extreme. And I don't know if they wanted to do. I really just didn't understand. I just felt like that could have been handled differently. And so I was like, I'm not taking insulin. I say, if you want to come in here and discuss it with me, that's fine, but I'm not doing that. And, somebody else would probably disagree or find or maybe think, well, the reason why they did it is because of this. And maybe they had all these other reasons, but that's fine. But for me, I wasn't comfortable with it. And that's just for me now. And I'm sure, I don't know what they were thinking, but it just didn't sit well with me. So I didn't take it. I'm like, I'm not taking no insulin. That's crazy. And anyway, so it's just things like that. And let's see, just a whole lot of other things as far as dealing with doctors, and their different personalities. Because when you're in a hospital, doctors rotate. They take shifts, and it's like one doctor would be in charge of a certain floor for a day, and then it'd be another doctor another day. And so you're speaking to, like, especially if you're in a hospital a week or more, you're gonna speak to at least 3 different doctors. And if if you don't pay attention to what they're saying to you, And because sometimes they contradict one another. Or, one doctor would say one thing and another doctor would say another thing. I had a recent experience where I had to be pulled off of a medication because it was a, a major um, um, factor in, me having problems with breathing. And my thing is, I've been in the hospital at least 3 times, and the same medicine that they finally took me off of, they were still giving it to me while I was in the hospital because no doctor paid enough attention to me to realize that this medicine was the cause of me having the buildup in fluid on my lungs. And finally, one doctor said, this particular medicine that you're taking causes fluid buildup. So we're going to take you off of that. And I'm just like, why did it take 3 hospital visits for somebody to finally realize that this medicine is something that I should not have been taking? I mean, I'm glad that it was discovered, but they were literally still giving me that same pill in the hospital. And it wasn't because I refused to take any other kind. They didn't offer me any other kind. They basically asked me what I was taking, and they continued to give it to me on top of like this patch and just some other things that they would put into my IV to lower my blood pressure. So it's really been an experience. And don't be afraid to tell the nurses and the CNAs or whoever how you're feeling. Sometimes I know they're overworked and they got other patients to see, and they're in and out, in and out, in and out. And I'm always I always try to be mindful, not to pull, like just be over the top. But some of them will they won't do their job unless you make them do their job. And you don't have to lay in the hospital feeling uncomfortable because you don't feel like you can say something to somebody about, not being comfortable. So yeah, I'm not going to lay in the hospital in urine and not push the button and say, hey, I need to be changed, or you need to clean my bed. Because if you lay in that bed and you don't push that button, and even though they switch shifts and say, hey, I'm your new nurse, and they may ask you, do you need anything or whatever, I was like, yeah, I do actually. Um, my bed needs to be changed. Oh, okay. And then sometimes it'll take them an hour, 2 hours. Um, and like I said, it's not always the case, but you're not gonna say that I didn't tell you what I needed, because that's the first thing they'll tell you is, oh, well, she didn't tell me, or I asked and she didn't say anything. Um, you just gotta make sure that you cover yourself, and it's okay, for you to be comfortable. I know every situation is not gonna be perfect, but you know, it's okay to speak up for yourself. And you don't have to be nasty or rude or anything about it. But, sometimes they're having a bad day, or their attitude is just not the way that it should be. And I've had both instances where you can really tell that they're stressed and they're being pulled in every direction. And you have compassion when you can kind of see that that's what they're dealing with. But to me, it's an entirely different situation when you just have a bad attitude and, you're just halfway doing your job. Like, I think I had asked if I could, freshen up, brush my teeth, and wash my face. And, I'm like, so they'll give you like a little basin with the water and the toothbrush and stuff. And I think this one particular nurse, when she was getting all of my stuff together, she had got a washcloth off of a couch or something that was in the room. And I'm just like, you expect for me to use that to wipe my face? It's like, could you please get me a clean one? Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like stuff like that. And I'm like, I wasn't like rude to her, but I'm like, why would you just randomly just go get a washcloth off the couch because it looks clean? And I'm telling you, I need to wipe my face. Just things like that. It's just like, okay. And I don't, and I mean, I know that's not a big deal to some people, but they're so COVID, cautious, but you want to pick up a washcloth that's been sitting on a couch and give me to wipe my face. And I'm just like, it's just stuff like that. And even the way that they help you clean yourself up. I had to be thorough with them about that. I'm like, listen, I couldn't move at the time because I was having fluid drained off. So I couldn't physically get up to go to the bathroom. They have things where, you don't have to be removed from the bed. You could just go to the bathroom and they just kind of dump your urine. But, after a while, you have to be cleaned up. And I'm like, what lady doesn't want their lady parts clean? And I'm just like, they'll do it, but it's just not thorough. In my opinion, it wasn't thorough enough for me. Like, I'm not asking, like, for you to, like, be watching me for an hour, but you have a vagina just like I do. And nobody wants to still feel like they're not, completely clean, or they're still moist, or it still could be urine there. Especially when you have a tool that's helping you to gather your urine when you go. So, you just have to be a little bit more sensitive, I think. So I don't have a problem with saying, listen, I still feel like I need to be cleaned up a little bit better in this particular area. And if, see, I couldn't do a lot of things on my own because I had so much fluid in my body. I couldn't reach certain areas. Like, I had to have help. Because if I could do it myself, I would have. And I'm just bringing all of this up as I'm sharing my experience as a way of, I feel like it's still a form of advocating for myself, because you can't allow people to, just, I don't want to say walk all over you, but you have to make people accountable just like they want you to be accountable. Like, I have to be accountable when the therapy people come and say, okay, it's time to get up and walk. You got to do this on your own. You got to, sit up for an hour. That's a responsibility that's on me that I have to be accountable for. And if I refuse to do it, they're going to be like, well, she don't want to do no therapy. She's not cooperating. So they're going to discharge you and send you home. So, it's everybody has a part to play, you know. And, I don't know, like I said, some people, I don't know why they're in the nursing field and why they're in healthcare field. I don't know if it's because of stability, if it's because of the money, or whatever the case may be, but I just feel like the way that they handle people, you know, a lot of these doctors and nurses are like, don't have compassion, or they judge you by how you look, or they have their own personal feelings about you as a person. It's a whole lot, guys, that I experienced. Um, and I'm just glad that I have enough wherewithal to not allow myself to be mistreated, and to make sure that I'm understanding what these doctors are doing to me. They wanted me to take a CAT scan so they could look at my lungs and my chest to see if I had a blood clot. And I couldn't lay back on the machine because I couldn't breathe. I had so much fluid on my lungs that laying straight back, I couldn't do it because it was literally taking my breath away. So they basically tried to say that I refused to take this test. And I'm just like, I never said that I wasn't going to take it. If I wasn't going to take it, then why was I down there for a second time trying my best to take this, to see that once some of the fluid was drained off, to try to get a second time to see if my breathing was any better? It wasn't. So I couldn't do it. So if I made two attempts to try to take this test, how am I refusing to do it? And it's almost like they do stuff and they word stuff and put stuff in your chart to cover themselves. So me, when people come around or the charge nurse comes or this or the I don't know what all of the titles are and say, well, how are things going? How's your visit? Whatever. And I take the time to say what's going on. I said I don't know, and I don't know if they're asking just because it's their job, but when they ask me, you better be ready to listen because I'm going to tell you. And so I was treated very rudely by one of the staff members when I couldn't take the test, and I reported her because I just felt like it was very unprofessional and it was very insensitive. And not only that, I'm claustrophobic, and I told them that before I went down there. So it was like it was just a whole lot of things that I was going through in the hospital. But they had the right one because I was not going to allow anybody to blame me for something that I wasn't responsible for. And I was going to make them responsible for doing their job. And so, I don't know. I would just encourage anybody that has hospital experience to ask questions. And this is the most, if I don't say anything else out of anything else that I've said this entire video, one thing that I have learned, and I really truly believe that this is very important. Try to always have someone with you when you go to the hospital and when you go to the doctor. Make sure that you have, whether it's your mom, your cousin, your sister, a friend, anybody, because what I think, what my experience has been, is when you're by yourself, they tend to be more lackadaisical and probably, not as responsive as they should be. But when you have someone with you who is also asking questions and who is advocating with you, they pay more attention and they cross their T's and dot their I's a little bit more when you have someone with you. Now I know that some people don't have support, some people don't have family, but if you can get somebody on the speakerphone, call that person and say, hey, the doctor just got in here, and this is what I want you to hear, everything the doctor is saying to me, and I want you to hear the conversation. Because I've had to do that a few times. Because, they'll say, oh, well, because of COVID, we can't have any visitors. We're not allowing any visitors. So a lot of times you're on your own in the hospital. And they won't allow anybody else to come. So you have to call somebody on the phone, let them do a video chat with you while the doctors come in. Or you can tell the doctors, listen, I need to get my husband or my dad or somebody on the phone with me so that they can hear our conversation. And my dad or my cousin may have questions, and when they do, when you allow or lift it so that visitors can come, have your visitor or your family member say, can we have the doctor in before we leave? Or if they say, well, the doctor is not here or they've already made their rounds, ask to speak to the nurse, the RN that is on that shift, to kind of go over what the doctor has said. Because when people see that you have support and that you're inquiring about their decisions and what they're doing and the medication that they're giving you, they're going to be more careful about how they treat you. There's a lot of people in the hospital that don't have that kind of support. Their families aren't there. And I'm not judging them or saying that they're bad people or they're, whatever. But it's just people have different lives. People have different situations. And everybody just can't get there. So please don't misinterpret that as me saying that these people are bad or whatever. Because I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there are people that are in that situation that, unfortunately can't really speak for themselves, So if you can find someone to advocate with you and be there with you, do it, because I think you're treated a lot better um, than if you were by yourself. And I'm going to say this last thing, and then I'm going to close the video, and we'll come back. I had a situation recently where I was, honestly, I think this is the worst that I've ever felt. It was recent. Actually, it was. I was in the hospital from December 23rd, 2021 to January 6th, 2022. And it was the worst I have felt, you know, in a long time. I actually probably should have went to the hospital. And it's really no probably. I should have went to the hospital a whole lot sooner. But I was so afraid of what I had to go through to get to the hospital. I knew that I had to get down my steps. I knew that I had to go into the ambulance. And I knew I had to take that ride from my house to the hospital. And that in itself is torture. So mentally, I was afraid of what I was going to have to go through physically. And when I finally got to the hospital, no, before I got to the hospital, I made it down the steps. That was torture. That whole experience was torture for a lot of different reasons that I'm not going to get into. But you know how they finally, uh, when they had me in the chair to put me on the gurney, they were like kind of like making sure my legs were strapped in and all this and that. Now I'm a big girl, and when I had all that fluid on me at the time, I had 50 pounds of fluid on me at the time, and I didn't know it. I didn't know how much fluid was on me until I was discharged from the hospital. They drained over 50 pounds of fluid off of me. So when they had me in the chair before they put me on the gurney, I broke down. Like, that's the first time I've ever cried. Like, I just broke because I was so uncomfortable. I had peed on myself. I couldn't breathe. I was too big to be in the chair. It was just, and then when they tried to put me on the gurney, I couldn't lean back because I couldn't breathe. So I had to have somebody to get me a pillow to put behind my head because I couldn't lay. It was just a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Like, it was bad. It was bad, and I don't know. Even thinking about it, I'm just like, I don't know how I did it. I really don't know how I did it, but I did. And it's the grace of God. That's all I can say. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell you guys about that experience too, and um, what that was like. And it's just crazy, y'all. I can't even remember. I lost my train of thought as to why I even brought that up, but I just thank God that I'm in a better place now. But again, please excuse my attire or whatever like that, but I can't be upright too long or sitting too long. I have to kind of have my feet elevated, and I have to be, in a comfortable position. So please excuse, that I'm not, glammed up and dressed up and all of that stuff. But I am getting better. I do feel better. The fluid situation has definitely improved. Again, like I said, I got this really, really, really bad toothache, and I'm just dreading it because I know I'm gonna have to eventually go to the dentist, and I don't even want to think about that. But yeah, so guys, that's kind of like some of what's been going on with me and how I've been coping, and I have a great support system, and I'm just determined to fight, because remember, we're warriors, and throwing in the towel is just not an option for me. Although I do have moments, where I'm not as up as am. I'm not as up, sometimes I'm up and I'm good, and then other times, it's not always like that, you know? And I'm very transparent. I don't pretend. So I just want to encourage you guys to keep your head up. And I know y'all, we all have a story to tell. I know we've all been through a lot. And but if you have any questions, or if you have anything you want me to talk about, if you have any questions, you can put it in the comments below. Um, I don't know if you have a particular topic that you want me to talk about. Put it in the comments below. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can, and be as transparent as I can. Um, and, just be open and honest about this journey. Another question that I get, I'll answer real quick, is how long have I been pregnant? Um, I will just say at the end of 2017, going into um, 2018, I would say September, October, around October of 2018 is when I started feeling like flutters and um like my belly growth and stuff like that. Um but once I discovered that I was pregnant, I went back and because I was having these symptoms before 2018, but I thought it was perimenopause. I thought I was going through the change. That's what I was thinking. But it wasn't that. It was actually the pregnancy, but I didn't know because I never heard of cryptic pregnancy before. I never would have imagined in a million years that it could be pregnancy. And then when I was like, well, maybe it is because I wouldn't be feeling this way, but pregnancy and menopause have the same symptoms. Plus, I was still getting my period at that time, and all of my tests were negative. So that's why I kind of was confused, because my belly was growing and my body was kind of slowing down, but again, I thought it was menopause. So I would say I really started noticing my body changing maybe I would say 2016 is what I would say, when I noticed, like, I'm like, why is my stomach so round? And then around 2017, I started having to buy new clothes, and I had to keep going up, and I didn't have to buy new clothes. I was always in the same size clothes for the last 15, 20 years. Like, I always stayed, one size, but all of a sudden I couldn't fit all of my clothes. I couldn't button my pants, and it just kept, it just kept changing. And so finally, I had an ultrasound done. Of course, all of my tests came back negative, but when I get copies of all of my ultrasounds, because you can request your medical records. And so I was able to look at my ultrasound, and that's when I saw my baby on there. My baby was not in my uterus. It was not. It was outside of my uterus. And of course, the technician that did the ultrasound was like, "Oh, see, you're not pregnant." She was like, "You're not pregnant." And I was like, "Okay." And this was 2018. So then, I just kept going to the doctor, kept getting ultrasounds, and every time I got an ultrasound, I would see babies on the ultrasound, and they were pretty good size, because I would go like once every, like, 3 or 4 months or whatever. And so that's when I started doing research, about everything and my symptoms, and I finally came across a group of women that was going through the same thing, and realized, oh, okay, so this is what this is. This is what I have, and it is in fact, a pregnancy. But when I read everything about the pregnancy and how long women are pregnant, and there have been women pregnant 8, 9 years, and women are pregnant indefinitely, and the babies grow slow, and you still get your period, but all of the tests come back negative. Like, I was just like, this can't be real. Like, this is crazy. So, anyway, to answer the question, I say I believe since 2016, maybe the end of 2015, going into 2016. But the first proof of the pregnancy was 2018, when I actually saw the baby on the sonogram, and I started. That's when I was feeling flutters and movement. Was 2018. So I always say, let's see, 18, 19, 21, 22. I say maybe 5 years. Maybe 5 years. 5 years plus. Um, but yeah. And so now they have taken over my body. They run the show. And I'm just praying to the Lord that, whenever it's time, that they're healthy, and, you know, we just, I can't wait to see them, and I'm just, prayerful that everything will be okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm great in this video because my mouth is killing me. But I will be back. I will be back, and like I said, if y'all got any questions, make sure you comment below. Um, and it's so good to see you guys. And I say see you guys, meaning that seeing your comments, knowing that we're back, and I get to interact with you guys. That's something that I'm looking forward to. So to all of my CP warriors, to all of my new subscribers, so even to the ones that are just here, just because they're interested in what's going on, welcome to my channel. And love you guys, and I cannot wait to see you again soon. Talk to you later. God bless.